Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the From Adversity to Abundance podcast. I am your host, Jamie Bateman, and I'm pumped today to have with us Nick Huber, aka the Sweaty Startup. Nick, how are you doing today?
Jamie, thanks for having me. I'm excited to chat.
Yeah, this is going to be fun. So, along with 300,000 plus other people, I follow Nick on Twitter. I get your newsletter as well, and Nick, you have a big following relative to I think my 4 Twitter followers. I'm just kidding, but no, I'm excited to chat. I know you have a lot of experience in self-storage, different aspects of real estate, commercial real estate, and now the ever-growing service company, I guess portfolio, I should say. But instead of me telling the audience about you, why don't you tell a little bit about yourself? What are you up to today, and kind of who do you serve? Who are you today?
Yeah, so I started in 2011 with a small moving and storage company. Grew that company. By the time 2014-15 rolled around, we were in 12 states, 25 major colleges with 5 part-time employees and 150 part-time employees, about 4 or 5 full-time employees. 2016, we started construction on our first self-storage facility, opened it up in 2017. Realized real quick that we wanted to get out of that business and do more real estate. So 2020 came around, we sold that moving and storage company, had a sizable exit for us at the time, for sure, a 7-figure exit. And then we got serious about real estate private equity, have kind of since went and raised a lot of capital from outside investors. We bought 63 self-storage facilities. We bought them for a little over $100 million, raised $40 million of outside capital. And also I'm an investor and partner in several other, like you said, agencies, real estate services, small business services companies, and also kind of growing a personal brand with 300,000 followers and about 90 million eyeballs a month across all my platforms, which is getting pretty crazy. So, yeah, I guess the best way to put it now is I'm a gatherer of people. I build teams. I attract talent, and I'm trying to put as many smart people in the room as I possibly can. And good things are already happening. So that's where I'm at today.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, there's obviously a ton there that we're gonna start to unpack. We can't cover everything. You've done a ton. Yeah, it's really impressive. So I know our listeners going to get a lot of value out of this for sure. So as you and I were talking before we hit record, the show is primarily, it's from adversity to abundance. And just to set the stage a little bit, I don't pretend that, Nick has no more challenges and he's reached abundance, and your adversity is in the rearview mirror 100%, of course. And we're going to talk about the challenges with entrepreneurship, et cetera. But there are lessons we can learn from some of the adversity that you've been through, maybe, either on a personal level or business related. So I'm gonna let you pick it up where you'd like to, as far as, what age you want to start at, but let's focus in on some of the adversity that you've been through, Nick. Where do you want to start?
Yeah. So I was lucky enough to be raised in a very loving household with 2 parents that were relatively stable. I don't have a lot of past trauma or, all the negative, psychological and emotional effects that can come from that stuff. But yeah, dove into entrepreneurship, and I realized really quick that, hey, this stuff is hard. It's hard for everybody. And I think a great analogy of this is running a marathon. A marathon doesn't get easier as you get better at it. You just get faster. Entrepreneurship is the same way. Like, just because you look forward and you see somebody killing it, they're making all the money, they're starting multiple different businesses, they're thriving, they're succeeding. Just because you see them winning doesn't mean it's stress-free, doesn't mean it's easy, and doesn't mean they're not having a ton of uncomfortable conversations and doing hard things all the time. Business, the stakes go up. You get better at business, the stakes go up. The amount of people, the amount of families, the amount of direct impact that you have on your community around you, through your employees, through the work that you do, it all amplifies. So naturally, the problems are amplified. More money, more problems is a very real saying. And yeah, entrepreneurship is the exact same. It's hard from the beginning, and you're not moving very fast, and it's hard when you're good at it and you're moving really fast. And in a way, it kind of gets harder and harder as you go. And maybe some of us are kind of a glutton for punishment. But I think
Yeah.
I mean, it's no one story that stands out for me. I mean,
Sure.
we were in a brutally hard business. That moving and storage company, it was called
Yeah,
Storage Squad.
talk about that a little bit, if you would.
It's a pickup and delivery student storage business. So when the kids moved out of their dorms in Boston, Philadelphia, Washington, D.C., all these major cities, we would show up in box trucks with laborers to pick up all their boxes, label them, take them back, drive them to a warehouse, store them in the warehouse, and take them back to where they moved the next year. We did 7,500 students and 50,000 items a year at our peak in 2017. And I mean, yeah, you're hiring part-time laborers that don't really care that much about your business or your bottom line to drive around major cities and pick up people's stuff. And
so
massive stress ensues when you have nothing going on in January, nothing going on in April, and then May hits and the students move out and it's a Super Bowl and you have to have all the trucks rented, all the supplies ready, all the laborers ready to work and trained, all the warehouse spaces, rented. You can only be in one of those cities. We were operating in, at 14 locations in 12 states, at 25 major colleges. I could only be at one place at a time. So we had to learn how to run a business remotely. But look, I think that's the beautiful thing about business is that when you grind yourself and you hone your skills in a very difficult business, once you get into a good business, amazing things can happen. And you can hire, you can train, every business is the same. Like no matter what business you're in, if you're doing it well, you're hiring, you're firing, you're managing, you're training, you're solving problems, and you're delegating tasks. And once you get good at that stuff, you can do amazing things. And we got ground down by a really hard business and came out the other side stronger for it. And it's one of the reasons why we've been pretty successful so far.
Sure. So now I know you've had threads about, I think maybe one time you had correct me if I'm wrong, I forget, but I forget the details, but maybe a breakdown on the side of the road or something like that. Can you speak to that briefly?
Oh, you're going to make me relive it, aren't you? No, I mean, the hardest day of my life was, 3 weeks into a busy season, and I hadn't slept in more than 3 hours in a night for 3 weeks straight. And I was laboring myself because we didn't have enough workers, and I was running a truck by myself and picking up boxes all day long and filling a truck and then spending the entire nights unloading the trucks at the warehouses. And yeah, one day when your entire workforce is burnt out, they're quitting on you, they're making mistakes. And one day one of our employees ripped the top off of one of our box trucks. That's the one area that you can't buy insurance through Penske. So we knew it was going to be a $3,000 to $5,000 F up on our part when we didn't have the money to cover those things. And the same day, a guy put gasoline fuel in a diesel truck, and it broke down the side of the road full of people's stuff that they needed to get back. And another crew just left the truck abandoned on the side of the road. And this is at 2 p.m. on a Sunday. And I realized real quick that, hey, my whole business is falling apart all the way around me. And I got no choice but to suck it up and work. And so, yeah, it was a panic attack / anxiety attack / mental breakdown for about an hour on the side of the road in Boston.
Wow. Yeah. So, and the point of this, podcast is not to, drudge up difficult times. I mean, it is one of the risks we run. But I, on some level I can relate, not the exact same situation, but entrepreneurship definitely puts a lot of pressure on the founder and the business owner. One thing I want to touch on before we move on to some other, some of the progress you've made through other businesses is the whole argument of, following your passion versus maybe following the opportunity or trying to add value to people. I'm just curious what your thoughts are. I think you've got a lot out there, that would probably relate to this, that people can read on your Twitter, and other places. But I know you tend to focus on or promote at least like the service related businesses. So I guess my question is, what do you say to the person who says, follow your passion and you'll never have to work a day in your life? What's your response to that?
I think far too many entrepreneurs look at the world with an emotional skew. Maybe it's a selfish skew because we're told our whole life that, hey, do what you want to do, find a way to make a living doing what you love, do what, makes you happy, follow your passion, follow your dreams, aim for the stars, all these different things we're told our whole life. And look, I get it. These teachers and family members are trying to inspire us. They're trying to give us hope. They're trying to give us dreams. The truth is that if I was doing what I wanted to do all day, I would be playing a game. I would be playing golf. I'd be on a golf course chasing a white ball around. And in no way, in no freaking world am I entitled to earn money and pay and live and feed my family playing a game.
Yeah.
In no way.
I love that.
Like, how many people are out there trying to put a round peg in a square hole because they want to do something? They want to start this business. They are passionate about X, Y, and Z. They love this, that, or the other.
Yeah.
That is such a horrifically wrong way to look at the world and the business world, especially because look, capitalism, our economy, it doesn't give a shit about you. Like, I'm just going to be the guy to say it.
Sure.
This world doesn't care about you.
Yeah.
It doesn't care what you want. It doesn't care who you are. And the world is hard. It's hard. This world that we live in is brutal. It's hard. And it's tough to be happy. It's tough to find meaning. It's tough to build relationships. It's tough to, earn money. It's everybody on the internet makes it seem like earning money is just an amazingly easy thing. Like you hang out on Twitter and you would just think money grows on trees. That is not true. So too many entrepreneurs think about the world in an emotional way.
Yeah.
When in reality, they're sitting at a poker table and they have chips in front of them, and those chips represent 24 hours in a day.
Yes.
Everybody's sitting at a poker table. You got chips that represent an hour, and you got 24 of a day given to you, and you can choose how you spend them. And you should be thinking about it like a poker player, somebody who's going to play the odds, a gambler. And if I'm going to devote my time, energy, and resources towards this, what's going to be my ROI? Am I taking a 1 in a million dream shot, or am I making a wise bet that a poker player would make? Too many business people, they start a restaurant because somebody told them they were good at cooking.
Sure.
They were going to go to art school because somebody told them that they were, could be an artist. They're going to go to music school because they think they can play an instrument and get paid, a great salary to play an instrument. I mean, this is insanity. Like, this is insanity if we step back unemotionally and we think about that, we think about the fact that there's probably 500 grown men that just got out of college that are going around trying to make a living playing golf. Three or four of them are going to make the tour because these guys play on the tour until they're 50 years old. It's the most competitive sport to play in the world. Yet we have these 24-year-olds that are told by coaches, told by their parents, told by all these people that they can make it playing a game. And that's one of the things that's wrong with this world.
No, I couldn't agree more. And I love the fact that it's really a matter of, even though you may have your own personal goals and ambitions and all that, and like we all do, we all should. I mean, really, it's a matter of focusing on others and where the value is to add to others. And so I imagine when you were in college, you started this moving and storage business. You weren't drawn to move it like boxes and it's like, I mean, who wants to do that all day? That sucks. So I love it. It doesn't mean you've got to be, miserable every second of every day, but it's not about you. It's really not about you. And when I say you, I mean you, me, the listener.
Life is a marshmallow game. Have you heard of the marshmallow game where they put
young kids?
They put a 4-year-old in front of a marshmallow, and they say, hey, if you don't eat this marshmallow, I'm going to come back in this room in 5 minutes. I'm going to give you 2 marshmallows. But if you eat it now, you're only going to get 1. And you see, what percentage of kids can actually like delay gratification and hold off on what they want that very moment in order to get something that they want 2 years from now, 3 years from now, 4 years from now. And a career is no different. Like, you have to work hard, you have to grind, you have to do things that you don't want to do so that 2, 3, 5, 10 years down the road, you can do what you want to do. And you can spend your time playing golf, and you can spend your time doing what you want to do. But yeah, it's about looking at the market unemotionally and seeing who you can help. And money is nothing more than an exchange of value, that you're adding value to people's lives in a way that they're going to give you money, and there's going to be excess money. There's going to be excess money. Every party has to win. Your employee has to win. the customer has to win, and you as a business owner have to win. If you're doing business well, it's a win-win-win-win scenario where your employee is working, they're earning 15, 20, $50 an hour to work for you, and they're happy about that. That's a win for them. They're doing it out of choice. Your customer's paying you $100, $200, $300 for whatever you're giving them, and you as a business owner get surplus because you're adding more value to the world than you're taking. So if you look at the world unselfishly and say, hey, these are all the different things that I could potentially do to add value, I'm gonna do one of these instead of doing what I want to do. It's not about me, it's about them, it's about who I'm going to serve.
Love it. Awesome. So, so you had a pretty difficult, I guess, successful moving storage business, but then some difficult times when it sounds like it started to fall apart right in front of your eyes. So walk us through, the next 5 or 10 years. How did you progress through after college and all that?
Yeah, it wasn't, another thing that I've learned in this entire thing is that every single bad situation that I've been in, looking back, it wasn't nearly as bad as I thought it was at that very moment. When you're sleep deprived, when you're angry, when you're stressed, when your emotions amplify a situation, and they amplify your feelings, and they amplify your stress, and they amplify the chaos.
Sure.
So looking back, it wasn't an insurmountable issue at all. We, a couple hundred customers got their stuff a little bit late, but most of them were still happy. And the business went on, and we got better, and we had more systems, better hiring, more people the next year, and it was a blessing. And we were 25, 26 years old a few years later in 2015, and we had $500,000 in the bank. You cannot
Awesome.
do that. You cannot do that if you work a W-2 job. You can't. So entrepreneurship gave us that gift, and we were able to then leverage that cash to the next bigger thing, and that was real estate for us. And the lesson there for me, looking back at it, is that business is all about momentum. If I would have hung out on Twitter or hung out, on social media and looked at all the people who were where I wanted to be and said, hey, I need to get there. I need to get to where Chris Powers is with, over $1 billion of industrial real estate, or I need to be where Moses Kagan is with $200 million of real estate in LA. I want to be where all these people are. I would have never started a little moving company. Like, it's about momentum and taking one step after the other. So the small goals and the achievable stuff was a necessity, requirement for me.
Yeah, no, I love it. You're focused on, you have long-term goals, I'm sure, but you're focused on kind of what's right in front of you and doing a great job with the service, to others in your service business. So why, I'm a huge fan of real estate. A lot of listeners are big fans of real estate, but at that time, why did you decide to go into real estate?
We realized that our business was stressful. It was not ultra scalable, and looking back, it was a horrible business. But at the time, we were like, it's not the best business. We could maybe find a little bit better business. Where are people making really good money that
Sure.
are not working that hard or are not that smart?
Right.
And we saw
success leaves clues, right? Yeah.
And we saw a lot of very wealthy and people who had, and I say wealth, I don't just mean cash. I mean, they had time freedom. They had, good quality of life. They could control their schedule. They could do what they wanted to do in life. And a lot of them were real estate investors. And then we started looking closer at self-storage and the way self-storage was managed. And we just thought, hey, this is a good business. We don't need to take over the world, but we can slice out our piece of the pie. We can get our piece of this. We don't need all of it. We don't need to be $1 billion startup. We don't need to scale it. We can get our piece. And so we dove in and did it.
Yeah. So now we don't have to get too specific, but when you say we, is this the same business partner that you had before, or how did the partnership look?
Yeah, I had a 50% partner in that first business who's still a 50% partner in my real estate private equity firm to this day.
That's awesome. So on that point, how, did you just get lucky, or looking back, like how would you advise the listener to approach a partnership? I'm not talking about a deal level partnership. I'm talking business long-term partnership.
Yep. I think if you're inexperienced and you have, like, there's 3 things you require to build a business. It's capital, it's a network, and it's experience. If you don't have any of those things, you're in trouble. And going and get a partnership is kind of shooting in the dark. If you're in college and you walk in somebody's room and shake a hand with somebody, it's it's like getting married on a first date.
Right.
Not ideal. As you get more experience in life, and now in my current situation, I'm doing a lot of partnerships with a lot of different people because they bring different things to the table. There's operational partners, there's capital partners, there's, you know, network partners, there's partners for distribution, there's different skill sets, and you got to form that team. And yeah, right now where I am in my life, it's, hey, I have the distribution, I have the capital, and I have some guidance, but I don't have the time to run a company. So I need somebody who knows how to operate and run a company as a partner. So I'm building partnerships that have that going on inside. But yeah, look, I'm a big proponent of partnerships. I've never started a business where I'm 100% owner before.
Love it. So it's essentially finding what other people have to offer that complements what you bring to the table, basically.
Yep.
Awesome. So walk us through kind of that first real estate, I guess, company, and then how have things progressed up through today?
Yeah. So we had, like I said, some cash. We were blessed to have some cash sitting in the bank. We went after a self-storage development project as our very first deal that we ever tried, which I don't recommend doing that. Looking back, I would have bought a property instead of built one.
So that's a ground up construction. You bought the land and then built the facility, right?
We had the idea to do this and the cash to do it in January of 2015. We didn't get the building built and opened until May of 2017. And we didn't make our first dollar of profit until May of 2019. So it was 4.5 years from idea to making some money. So talk about delayed gratification. That's the ultimate, that was the ultimate deal. But we built that property for $2.9 million all in, and it's worth $11.5 million today. And it's been a life-changing deal. That one deal set my family up to where I never had to work again, which is pretty insane to think about.
And you still own that?
Yeah, we bought out our partners, and it's just been a great deal for everybody who got involved.
Awesome. Super cool. So now, I mean, I understand, like, you kind of combine real estate with self-storage and service in that sense, but why the emphasis on, I guess, service businesses as you progress through your entrepreneurial journey?
I think, well, I'm not too arrogant to think that I know how to scale a product company or a software company, and it's not what I know how to do yet. Will I try to do it? Yes. Is there a lot of time left in my career? Yes. I'm 33 years old, but I know service companies. I know how to build teams. I know that the playbook is very similar on how to build teams and deliver products, services.
Yeah.
So I'm a fan, and they're cash flow positive, they're low risk, and they can still be big, and they can still make a lot of money.
Sure. Makes a lot of sense. I mean, from my perspective, I mean, it really, of course, depends on the industry, but it's a fairly low barrier to entry, right? I mean, I think your brother owns a lawn mowing and landscaping company. I used to a long time ago. I'm sure his is, much more successful than mine was, but I mean, you can get in with a lawnmower. I mean, you can start it. And so you say low risk, it's low risk in that sense as well. Just starting it. If you try it for 6 months, it doesn't work. So what? You learn some lessons. So that makes a lot of sense. Okay, so I guess give us kind of the last 5 or 6 years. How have things really progressed with your businesses? I know now you've got maybe upwards of 10 different businesses going on. So talk to us kind of, in the recent rearview mirror, if you will.
So I started sharing online my experience with real estate, small business hiring, and I started writing about it. And you fast forward 3 years, and I have over 300,000 followers on Twitter, and a platform that has 60 to 90 million impressions a month across everything that I do, which is just insane to think about. So when you get that kind of distribution, some people look at it as, I can, it's fun to tweet to people and them read my thoughts. And the first thing I thought is all the entrepreneurial, opportunity that comes with having that kind of distribution. And everybody in my following is business owners, people who are managing, people who are hiring, people who are trying to get better at running their companies or buying real estate. So it's a kind of a direct path into offering some services to those folks who trust me and know me, and partnering with world-class operators. So yeah, it's a recruiting company for Latin American talent and Filipino talent. It's a recruiting company for American talent. I have a web development agency. I have a SEO agency. I have a performance marketing agency, pay-per-click agency. I have a business brokerage, actually buying and selling businesses with that platform that I've launched recently, and just a lot of other fun, real estate related. We have a cost segregation firm and a property and casualty insurance company, all with different partners and all with kind of the same playbook. So
that's amazing.
I'm having a lot of fun.
Sure you've got a few in the hopper as well, if not just ideas, but something you're working on. But I think the main reason you have such a Twitter following is your like your bourbon posts and things like that, your bourbon tweets. I saw your recent one where I just love it. It's I mean, the fact is, like, correct me if I'm wrong, but you're kind of just toying with people a little bit.
I do some really silly things that just trigger people, and
it's awesome.
I just think it's pretty wild that a humongous percentage of people on social media get angry about what other humans post on social media that's not even a direct insult to them. So
right.
I don't understand who in their right mind would get upset about what somebody posts on the internet that doesn't have anything to do with them.
Yeah.
But that's a big chunk of people, and I enjoy making those people angry. I can't help it.
Yeah. For example, for the listener who doesn't yet follow you, you'll tweet about paying virtual assistants $5 an hour overseas, which I have VAs on my team. I'm a big fan of it, and people get so offended and so angry at you for I guess slave labor or whatever else you want to call it. But it's hilarious to me because it's like for the most part, these VAs are making a lot more than they would have otherwise with the opportunity that
they're not even just VAs. I mean, these are employees running teams.
Gotcha.
and having like key roles inside of my business. But yeah, I've hired them through a company called Support Shepherd, which I'm a partner in, and we have 30 plus employees in Colombia, the Philippines, and $5 to $10 an hour for phenomenal talent
it's awesome.
Is amazing.
Yeah, I wasn't planning on saying this, but my only two virtual assistants who've lasted. I'll be honest, I got through Support Shepherd. So I've tried other agencies. It's not, Nick didn't pay me to say this, but it's actually a fact. But I also enjoyed your recent Pappy Van Winkle one with the mixing it with caffeine-free Diet Coke, I think it was. But we'll let the listener go check that out. So I do have some rapid fire questions. Do you, I guess, looking back, before I get to those questions, looking back, I mean, from adversity to abundance, would you say that, that episode we talked about earlier was the biggest, that was the most adversity you'd faced? I know you spoke to the fact that the adversity continues throughout your career. What other adversity or periods of adversity stand out to you? Anything like compared to what we already talked about?
Yeah, I think the amount of stressful situations I've been in I can't even count them all at this point. Stress is something that your body gets used to and your mind gets used to, and it's like a muscle. Dealing with stress is like a muscle, and the more practice you get in stressful situations, the better you're going to be able to handle yourself in stressful situations. So it's hard for me to point to the numerous stressful. I mean, when you're running companies and teams with 100 plus employees now in your network, there's problems all the time that you have to step in.
I mean, I love it because you're not avoiding problems, you're not avoiding pain. I mean, you just get better at dealing with them. That's so far the consistent message, I think, of this episode is you have improved at managing businesses and solving problems internally and externally for other people, and therefore you're getting paid more because you're adding more value to the world. So yeah, today's world, it's like everybody's so afraid of stress and stress is bad, and it's like not necessarily. I mean, that's where the growth happens. So I love that. All right, you ready for some rapid fire questions?
Let's do it.
What do people misunderstand about you?
I think I have to put a certain persona on Twitter to get points across. sales copy is harsh. I write punchy. I write arrogant. I have kind of very strong opinions on Twitter, but what people don't understand is that they're pretty loosely held opinions. I change my mind often, and the way that you win on Twitter is different than the way that you win in life. So I'm not a arrogant jerk like you may think of when you read my tweets.
Well, I love the fact that it's a game, right? I mean, there's different games within this game of life. So you approach Twitter like any other game. Your 300,000 plus followers must be doing something right with that game. What's one of your biggest failures? I mean, looking back, and you can frame it however you want. Some people don't like to call things failures, but do-over, regret, in your entrepreneurial journey, what would you look back at and say, I would have done this differently?
That's a good question. I didn't start these businesses soon enough. I've had influence online for 3 or 4 years now, and I didn't get serious about it until more recently. But no, I think I've been blessed. I haven't made a serious mistake that really set me back. I haven't went bankrupt. I haven't lost any properties. I haven't, really let down anybody close to me from a poor decision that I made. So
Okay.
yes, there's minor things, like I could nitpick my whole life and think of
Sure.
300 or 400 things that I made a poor decision on, or I wish I would have done differently.
Right.
But I wish I'd have started buying storage earlier and I gotten more serious about buying it instead of building it. But no, I think I can't point to any major regrets, and I'm pretty blessed there.
That's awesome. So yeah, and this isn't written in my questions, but with 10 different businesses that you're involved in, what does your week look like? How do you spend your time?
So I have a team of people that help me run the companies. I have a marketing officer, I have a copywriter, I have a video editor, I have a operator, I have an HR person who's running payroll. I mean, so it's a lot. I have a lot of help, and I also, I'm pretty careful about who I select to run these companies, make sure they're pretty good at building teams, and they're not going to be somebody who has no idea what they're doing when it comes to running a business. So I spend about half my time on content and growing my personal brand, because that fuels all these companies and drives opportunities. I spend the other half of my time interacting with these operators and running these companies.
Got it. Awesome. If you could go back and give your 18-year-old self some advice, what would that be?
Man, I'm glad I don't know how good it can be and how fun entrepreneurship can be, or I would never have done that first 3-year slog or 5-year slog in that business. Like, that was just so hard and brutal, and there were so many easier ways to make money that I probably would have passed it up or not done it. But I'm really glad that I stuck with it. So I'd say just do it again and stick with it, and don't set too large of goals and pass up the necessary, not fun stuff you got to do to get there.
Love it. If you could have coffee with any historical figure, who would it be? They could be, dead or alive. Obviously, you'd be having the coffee with them alive, but
yeah, I don't know. That's a tough one. Yeah, I don't have a good answer for that.
No worries. If you were given $10 million tomorrow, not saying you don't have 10 million, but if somebody wrote you a check for $10 million, what would you do with it?
I'd go and be my own LP in the next year's worth of storage deals. I'd invest it all with my private equity company.
Love it. You must believe in your company. If you had to eat one meal for the rest of your life, what would it be?
One meal for the rest of my life. I don't know. That would not be fun. I mean, I like a lot. I like all food. There's not a single food I don't like, actually. I love sushi. I love steak. I love chicken. I'm definitely a meat eater.
Me too. Back to your business. What's one challenge that you're facing right now? I know there's always numerous challenges, but what stands out as like the number one, or one of the main challenges you're looking at?
Yep. I've never grown a company from, 500 grand a month of revenue, $5 or $10 million valuation. Never grown one to the next level. And the next 5 years are going to be about me trying to do that, try to learn how to do that.
So who do you, again, not this is not written, but who do you follow for that? I mean, you mentioned a couple guys, that are big in real estate. I'm big on Twitter, but who do you follow from a business standpoint so that you can kind of emulate
Yeah,
what they've done?
I have a lot of mentors and people that I look up to, but I mean, this all is kind of secondary, like living a good life and
Mhm,
being a good husband and being a good dad to
mhm,
my kids and also having fun. Like that stuff's
mhm.
important. And
Yeah.
far too many of like far too many famous or like really, really, really successful people.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want their life. Like I wouldn't want
Sure.
the wake of destruction they've left behind them when it comes to relationships. And, you know, the physical health is important and having hobbies is important. Just, I look at life as a kind of a balanced thing. So it's not that I don't look up to people at all, but I look for a mentor who has the other areas of life too, because I don't
Mhm.
want to be a one-dimensional person.
Sure. Yeah. I tend to do that too, and try to pull from, doesn't mean I have to do everything that that person does, right? But I might learn from whatever they've obviously excelled in one area of life, and then pull from someone else in another area. But yeah, I think, yeah, I forgot, but you ruptured your Achilles. Was it last year?
I don't the Achilles thing I have that's my worst fear because I play pickleball and stuff, but
Oh,
the
gotcha. What?
I severed the tendon on top of my I severed the adductor tendon on top of my foot
Okay,
and I was laid up for about a month, but
gotcha.
I'm about 6 months at post that happening right now and I'm
All right,
fully recovered, so I feel really lucky.
got it. I'll try not to bring that up again with you. No, I had ruptured my Achilles playing badminton. It's super, super, tough, sport apparently. But
Yeah.
I used to be an athlete, was in the military, and then I go and rupture my Achilles playing badminton. So I think you did your injury shortly thereafter. So, but no,
Oh,
I love the post. I mean, you are always posting about like hunting or just different things with your kids and golf, and it's not
mhm,
all about just making money.
mhm.
Um, what's one of the in your industry, what's one of the personality traits that you think is required to be successful?
I think you have to be to generate serious wealth, you have to be charismatic and be able to bring people together. And if you
Love that.
can't get people excited, if you can't lead other people and make them want to follow you,
Yeah.
and people naturally gravitate towards the person who has the most energy and is the most excitable and is in the best mood. So if you're not energetic,
Mhm.
not excitable, and you're grumpy all the time, like good luck getting rich. Good luck.
Love that. It's awesome. Is that something you've just kind of always had a knack for? Or I mean, I imagine you're intentional about trying to develop those leadership skills, right?
I think I got a lot of it from my dad, who's loud and wants everybody to be having a good time for sure.
Got it. Um, what's one thing in your field of expertise, maybe not on Twitter, but just in real life, that almost no one agrees with you about, whether it's building business or self-storage or real estate, or it's just what's one thing that you have a real controversial take on?
I think that wasting any energy at all on politics or world geopolitics or
Mhm,
the Russian war or the presidential elections or
mhm,
a submarine pod, wasting any energy and time thinking or worrying about that stuff. There's a lot of people who actually worry about that stuff.
mhm. Yeah.
That's just like the number one trait that is going to make somebody like not be able to achieve their goals is spending time worrying and thinking about things that they can't control. And almost everybody on the internet does that, and it kind of upsets me.
It's a great answer. Yeah, I know for me, back in 2015, I made a real mental shift and stop watching the news, I just started focusing on who's on my team, who can I influence, what is my circle of influence, what are my strengths, and my business has started to really grow from there. So it's great advice. Any other kind of productivity hacks that you have for entrepreneurs out there? Anything that comes to mind?
I think um, writing and learning how to write well is a
Hmm,
superpower. So
it's really good.
if you can practice writing copy, writing short emails, writing short, punchy, informational, I run my company with the written word, period. If you have to pick up the phone to get a message across, you are going to get passed up in business.
Hmm,
So learning how to write well and learning how to write sales copy and learn how to, get points across and get your ideas across with the written word in a clear and concise way. The only way you can get better at it is to practice. But if you start to practice that, you're gonna watch your effectiveness skyrocket.
Awesome. So speaking of writing or reading, what's a book or two that you could recommend for our listener?
I like I'll kind of say two books that are not, mainstream. Everybody loves Atomic Habits and,
Sure.
4 hour work week or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But I like the book EntreLeadership by Dave Ramsey.
Okay.
Everybody thinks of him as a super Christian, no debt, like personal finance guy, but he's also a really good businessman who has grown a media empire, and he's been through a lot in real estate and small business. So his book EntreLeadership is really good. There's also a book called The Goal by Elihu Goldratt. And that's about bottlenecks in your business. It's a fictional story told to get a point across about business. And it's about bottlenecks and how to, your job as CEO or owner of a business is to remove bottlenecks at all times. Sometimes that bottleneck is yourself. Sometimes it's an employee. Sometimes it's the way the information's flowing around your company. But if you can remove those bottlenecks, then it kind of unlocks your business for growth. And that's a big mindset shift for me.
That's great. Yeah. On the Dave Ramsey point real quickly, it's like Grant Cardone. I mean, not that they're pretty different, right? But people get so hung up on, not liking Grant Cardone, for whatever reason, but it's like, who cares? He's done really well from a business standpoint and a marketing standpoint. Same thing with Dave Ramsey. It's like, he obviously knows how to run a business and grow a business. I love that. So, what's one question that that I haven't asked that you wish I had?
I don't know. I think you asked a lot of really great questions.
I appreciate that. Awesome. We'll talk a little bit more before we wrap up here. Talk a little bit more about your current businesses and what you have going on today, maybe into the next year or two.
Yeah. So if people kind of want to follow along, I don't really want to pump the businesses, but we'll put the links in the show notes of the different business services that I offer. But yeah, if you want to kind of get a look into my brain and kind of think about how I think about managing and hiring and delegation and building businesses and real estate portfolios, then my newsletter is the best resource, I think. And you can go to sweatystartup.com and sign up for my newsletter. I send a pretty long email every Monday, and it's on a management principle or real estate principle that is pretty important to me.
Awesome. Yeah, I know I get a good bit of value out of that. It's really good. So I definitely recommend it.
Appreciate it.
This just popped into my head, but before we wrap up, what's one thing you've changed your mind on in the last 20 years when it comes to business?
I changed my mind a lot. I have a little piece of tape, a note taped to my window or my mirror when I brush my teeth every morning. It says, change your mind on something today. Just because I know that as you get more successful, as you win more at life, and as you get more confidence and more, sure of yourself, it's so easy to just, reject and turn away other information that contradicts what you believe. And I think that that's a dangerous spot to be as an entrepreneur, especially when you're managing capital, other people's capital. And if you start to think that you know everything, then it opens you up to some serious problems in your business. So I encourage the trusted people around me to call me out when they think I'm wrong, and they do often. And I also use Twitter and these other tools as a place where people can give me real-time feedback. And if their arguments make a lot of sense and, they have some credibility, then I think it's a beautiful place to start to change your mind on something. But one huge one is that I don't think entrepreneurship is for everybody. You talk to me 3 years ago, and I think entrepreneurship is the dream. Everybody should start a business. Everybody should found a business. If you're working a normal job, then you are missing the boat. And that is simply not true. It's not true at all. I think very few people are actually designed to be an entrepreneur. Not very many people want that stress of every problem ending with you. Not many people want the hard decisions. Not many people want the confrontation, and not many people want the risk. And the downside of this is real, and we see it all the time. How it tears people up when they can't win or they can't make it. They can't hack it. And I also see a lot of people who are really happy and living amazing lives, going to work and getting home at 5 o'clock and hanging out with their family, exploring hobbies, doing whatever they want to do, but also I say that to say, like, you can apply almost everything we talked about today if you work at a company, and you can earn more money and live a better life by delegating, managing, leveraging other humans and win-win scenarios to build where you want to be. But I think the sad truth is that most people are not better off starting a business. They're better off getting a job.
Well, I'm glad you threw in the last part about it's still applicable to a W-2, because all my listeners would have vanished and dried up after this. No, I'm kidding. I couldn't agree more, Nick. I mean, it's so true that it's not for everyone. But awesome. So Sweaty Startup, we've talked about Twitter, your website, your newsletters, and anywhere else we should check out.
Yep, sweatystartup.com is how you can find me. And if you want to follow me on Twitter and get a look into my brain all day, then at Sweaty Startup on Twitter. I really appreciate you having me. Thanks for a great interview. Yeah, it's been great. Nick Huber, thanks a lot for joining us. We really appreciate you taking the time. And to the listener out there, thank you for spending your most valuable resource with us, and that is your time. Thanks, everyone. Take care.